My dear students of 12th Medical, and today we are going to talk about the greatest work about the genetics, that is none other than the Gregor John Mendel, who is truly known as the father of genetics. And this our genetics portion is will be incomplete without mentioning his contribution, and we must first know about this great personality, a great scientist which could not be recognized in when he was alive, and after his death his work was rediscovered. And we will have a look on his biography. This firstly we will have a look on the basic features of inheritance, what was known prior to Mendel's work. The work of Kohlreuter 1760, Gauss 1822. Now then, these are the scientists which have contributed in the field of the genetics. Now then, in 1862, and other plant breeders showed 6 basic features of inheritance prior to the work of Mendel. So prior to the work of Mendel, these things were known about the genetics. That is, number 1 is the traits have alternate forms. 2. Traits are represented in the individuals by discrete particles or entities which do not get blended or modified. Number 3. One alternate or of a trait may be exhibited more often than the other. 4. An alternate form of a trait may remain hidden for 1 or more generations and then appear in the unchanged state. And 5th is the particular forms of 2 or more traits may occur together in one generation and separate in subsequent generations. And the last one, out of the 2 alternate traits present together in an individual, only one is expressed. And this is what was known prior to the Mendel's work. And now a word about this great geneticist, that is the Gregor John Mendel, truly known as the father of genetics. And this Gregor John Mendel, he was born in 1822 and died in 1884, is truly known as the father of genetics because he was the first to demonstrate the mechanism of transmission of characters from one generation to the other. And he was the first to experimentally demonstrate that how transmission of the characters takes place from one generation to the other. He also gave generalizations, some of which were later raised to the status of principles or laws of inheritance. Such was his greatness, and they constitute the foundation of genetics. Mendel was born in Silesian, a village in Henzendorf, Austria, and now the part of Czech Republic, on July 22nd in 1822 to a farmer's family. And he was a brilliant student and studied philosophy for several years. And after schooling, Mendel joined in Augustinian monastery of St. Thomas at Brunn, then in Austria, now Brno in Czechoslovakia, in 1843 at the age of 21. At the age of 25, in 1847, he was made a priest in the monastery. And in 1851, Mendel was sent to University of Vienna for study of botany and physics. And he returned to Brunn as teacher of physics and natural sciences. Mendel served as a teacher for 14 years. Later, he was made abbot of the monastery. And Gregor John Mendel was added in this. Gregor name was added to his name when he joined monastery at Brunn, and in 1856 Mendel observed the occurrence of two types of seeds in pea plants growing in his monastery. That is where he started his experiments. Thereby, he became interested in them. And Mendel carried out hybridization experiments on garden pea for 7 years from 1856 to 1863. He confirmed the purity of his experimental materials through inbreeding. Initially, he took 34 pairs of varieties of pea plants, then 22, but ultimately worked with only 7 pairs of varieties. The latter differed in such characters as flower color, flower position, height of the plant, pod shape, pod color, shape of the seeds and seed color, etc. All the selected varieties were pure lines or true breeding. This we will explain in our later these lessons or later topics. That is, they were put and bred true or gave offspring resembling the parents. And Mendel performed various types of cross breeding and then allowed the offspring to self-breed. And that is how he proved the true lines. And his experiments had a great sampling size, some 10,000 pea plants. That is, his sampling size was quite large, and this gives greater credibility to his data. Further, he was the first to use statistical analysis and mathematical logic in solving problems in biology. He formulated generalizations which were read out at 2 meetings of Natural History Society of Brunn in 1865. His paper Experiments on Plant Hybridization was published in the Proceedings of Brunn Natural Science Society in 1866. Mendel died in 1884 without getting any recognition for his work, and his work remained unnoticed till very late, when his work was rediscovered, which we will talk about in our next class, inshallah.